This is an examination of the hidden human condition.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
The Hidden Killers Podcast.
With Tony Bruschi.
We are talking with Robin Dreek right now, retired FBI special agent, chief of counterintelligence behavioral analysis program, about the case against Lori Vallow Daybell. Let's talk about cults for a little bit, because this certainly has the looks of at least a starter cult or a cult on training wheels, where they seem to kind of have some aspects going, maybe not the full compound quite yet, and having sex with everybody. But it seems to be that it's very much starting, or it was attempted to start to align in that area. Are you seeing the same thing? Do you feel like this was a cult in the making?
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, I'm not a cult expert. I'm getting read up on it right now. There's some great content out there about it, but it is definitely a cult in making. I think, again, it was a bad cult in making. They tried to go from, and thankfully, again, boy, it's horrible to say that 5 people dead is thankful, but it could have been so much more, because Chad Daybell did things bad if he's forming a cult. He tried to go from 0 to 100. I mean, he had a small circle there, and they started knocking people off to get insurance money so fast that it just went haywire really rapidly. But yes, it definitely had all the elements of all the cults, except the isolation issue. That was the one thing they were missing there, I think.
It was kind of odd to see the death involved. Normally for a cult, I don't know if that's the thing, but in a lot of cults, we don't necessarily see spouses die or friends die or this die. It's usually everybody kind of swept up into the same thing, and if the leader wants to start having sex with multiple people, he'll just say, well, God said that this is what I'm supposed to do. In this case, it was, well, let's kill off the exes so we can just kind of be with each other. But I'm wondering if it was going to eventually go further as well, because it did seem that Chad and Lori were really playing matchmaker for a little bit with some of those around them, going, this is the person you really should be with. Making me also kind of suspect, is there a reason you want this person kind of into your belief circle? Like, is there more than just you want this for this other person's relationship?
Well, I really think part of the reason they're knocking people off for the money and that was going sideways on them really rapidly is because I don't think they had a skill set, either of them, that was employable. You know, all these other cults, they had whole enterprises that were generating revenue for them, and I think the people leading them were probably, again, it's anecdotal on my part, might have been more intelligent in certain areas than these two were. And then I was asked this question yesterday too about whether I ever thought it would go polygamous with Chad Daybell.
Yeah.
Maybe that he'd want to, but I think Lori would have had a hard time with that, because it's all about Lori. And if Lori's got to start sharing Chad, that would not have been a good conversation. I think there would have been some dark spirits entering Chad.
Yeah.
and I think that it would have been a cult divided at that point. Again, total conjecture, but she saw herself as an equal partner to the Messiah because she was the queen.
Yeah.
And I think she would have had a hard time on that sharing aspect.
What were some of the things that were done wrong? What made this not get into a more traditional cult aspect, if you will? I mean, obviously they picked up their town. Rexburg, Idaho was where it was all supposed to be going down at. They started to gather some friends to come. Even there was the attempt of recruitment in Hawaii with Lori visiting one of her friends out there, telling her, you should just leave your kids. You've done your part. Why don't you come back to Rexburg with us? Do you think they saw the bigger picture, or were they just living too much in the moment of being in this cult rather than seeing the big picture of what it takes to truly build a healthy cult?
Yeah, I don't think they studied cults. I think they were literally just feeding off each other. So I think they're giving each other they're giving each other the validation each of them needed to keep going and building in their own minds. And they had a very, very small circle of people that were buying into this. So in their own minds, they felt very safe with their behaviors. they were dehumanizing and objectifying the people around them that they wanted to take out, including their children, because that's why they're possessed by evil darkness, and they had to bump them off because they were grabbing attention away from Lori, and they also had insurance policies and Social Security tied to them. And so I really think that they tried going from 0 to 100, the two of them together, Chad and Lori, because they felt safe in doing it, because they're surrounded by a very, very small circle of people, and they really weren't cognitively thinking out, all right, we're going to rule the world. They just thought everyone was going to go along for the ride, I think.
So do you think they were actively, objectively trying to build a cult, or it just ended up kind of starting to go down that road based on their actions?
I think I'm edging towards the going down that road because of their emotional narcissism, and their neediness. And I think they found each other. And I think that these behaviors kind of manifested in that way. I mean, I don't, again, I'm not an expert on cults, but it's hard to imagine that, people at some point in their lives, all right, say to themselves, I'm going to form a cult. What happens is they come up with a pain point need in their lives, and because of their backgrounds, their mindset, their psychopathy, whatever it is, they come up with a plan to do it. It just happens to fall into this pattern. I think that's what was going on here. You had two people that were having a hard time making money, making a life for themselves, and they're grounded in religion. They said, hey, well, here's something we can kind of build upon and kind of categorize just for ourselves in this group of people. And we can make some, we have a pain point here. So hey, it'd be convenient to take out this person and get the life insurance. Wouldn't that be interesting? And so they kind of start rationalizing their own mental illness, that behavior. So I think it's all those things together.
Was there ever a financial aspect to this? I mean, I see it completely, obviously, with the insurance payouts from their loved ones, but beyond killing your loved ones, it would have a direct insurance policy with you being the beneficiary. It would be hard to make money off of just friends unless you convince them to make you the beneficiary, or to give all of your earthly possessions and money to the circle of the Chad Daybell religion, or whatever it would be. Was it ever going to go that way, you think? Was it starting to go that way of let's somehow, get the people's goods and money as well?
Didn't seem to, did it?
No.
It doesn't seem to. I mean, it literally seems like their business enterprise was taking people's insurance money.
Yeah.
And that's what was their undoing. They did not have a business plan for their cult. Their business plan was, we're just going to bump people off that are full of dark spirits and take their insurance money. And it's convenient that the only people that got bumped off are the ones with insurance money. I just do not think they were that bright.
Does that make them more bumping off people for the insurance money? Does that make them more invested in their belief system as if it's real, because they're not seeing it as they're bumping people off for insurance money? They're killing demons. And then the added benefit happens to be that there was insurance money attached? Or does it make it more nefarious, where they knew damn well what they were doing to get that insurance money, and they were just putting up a front the whole time?
I think by the end, they're in such a delusion that they're completely in delusions about why they were doing it. It's so rational. In other words, I bet you this. I bet you if you put both of them on a polygraph and asked them why they did it, they would pop saying that they're completely 100% truthful in the fact that they believe they're exorcising demons to get that money. Because I think they started believing that lie that they told themselves to rationalize that behavior. And again, we become what we consume. And if you keep consuming that negative thought process, it really becomes who you are.
Well, if anyone out there wants to start a cult, use this interview as a lesson in what not to do. And
yeah, no kidding.
We wish you luck.
What a mess they are.
This is an examination of the hidden human condition
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast.
with Tony Bruschi.
Robin Drake, retired FBI special agent, chief of the Counterintelligence Behavioral Analysis Program. His website, peopleformula.com. He's also a best-selling author. Check out some of his work. My name's Tony Bruschi. Press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. You don't miss any breaking updates or discussions on the cases we're following for you. Stay with us.